Hey there, Tracy here for Trinity Stamps. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a clean and simple sympathy card. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Greetings, everyone. So today, a little something different for me because I don't typically do clean and simple, but we're going to be doing a sympathy card using the Simply Sentimental Sympathy dies and coordinating stamps, or stamps and coordinating dies, however you want to put it. And I'm going to be using I'm Sorry, and I've already taken the dies out. And then I've got our Tomadache stencil here, and we are going to do some tone-on-tone stenciling. And this is kind of a cream colored cardstock, and I'll be working with the cream colored and this sort of gray blue, so some very subtle colors, but quite different for me. But I certainly love this. So I'm going to trim this paper down, and I think I'm going to trim it down to 3.5 by 4 3/4. So it's going to be my main scene, and that's the part we're going to be stenciling on. So yeah, I did do, I think, 4 3/4, or yeah. I don't know. Yes, indeed. And then I'm going to cut this piece down to 3 3/4 by 5. So I want a nice border around my card, and this is just going to be a matte layer, and I'll be cutting some out of there as well. So I'm going to lay this down, and I'm just going to take my stencil and add a couple of pieces of mint tape to the back, just to kind of hold it down. I don't need to put it on my sticky mat or anything. This works just fine. I'm just kind of making sure it's straight here. And friends, this is the card that none of us really want to make or have to send, but you know, it's always necessary. So I'll be using the cookie dough ink, especially the Simon Hurley cookie dough ink. It's especially at my age, as my friends are all kind of aging as well. It happens. So I'm going heavy in the center, and then just without re-inking, lightening up on the outer edges so that I've got kind of just an impression of the stencil, if that makes sense, so that it's just heavier in the center. Kind of looks like lace, doesn't it? I think it's so pretty. I love that stencil. So that's all I'm going to do with that, except for I will do an envelope. I'm going to decorate the envelope since I have some matching envelopes. Then I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to its little matte layer. But before I do that, I want to cut the I'm Sorry out of it. So I'm going to be cutting these things off camera, the I'm Sorry and the shadow layers. And once we get those cut out, we'll get them put together. And I've got them laid out here so I don't lose my little apostrophe. And I'm going to glue that on first, because otherwise I'm going to lose it. It's small. And I've just got a little glue on the edge of my hand here. I guess that's sort of off camera. Oh no, I haven't put it on yet. So this is kind of the way I do it. I just put a little bit of glue there, and then I just dip into the glue. Sometimes I'll put it off on my little mat there too. It cleans off easily. But that part of my hand doesn't tend to get into my work, so I don't make a mess. And I'm just going to tap this on while my glue's still sticky and do each one of these letters. And you can attach some rip and stick to the back if you want before you cut it and not have to go through the gluing. But I'm not really, I don't have a lot of luck with that. I don't know. I think I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. It all tends to come apart on me. So I'm just as happy to just put glue on my hand and glue it down. And this is such an easy card to do. So the Sorry comes in 2 parts and the I'm comes in 3 parts. Okay, let's grab my tweezers, dip this in the glue. Make sure I have plenty of glue there, but not too much. And then that glue pretty quickly disappears on my hand. I forget it's there, and then later on I'm like, ew, what's on my hand? Oh yeah, glue. So now I've got this piece that I cut the I'm Sorry out of, and I can use that as a matte layer. And I'm just sort of auditioning where I want these to go. And I like the subtle feeling of this. You know, when you're doing a sympathy card, the last thing you want is a lot of bright colors and kind of happy feel goods. I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but I know you understand if you've ever lost anyone. And then I'm choosing the sub-sentiment that I want to use here and just kind of laying them there to see how I like their positioning. And I chose the no words, just hugs. And I just have the I'm sorry laying there by itself. It's not glued down or anything yet because I'm just auditioning where I want everything to go. And I'm just kind of checking my grid to make sure that my sentiment's on there straight. Giving it a little bit of a rub just to make sure that, because it's not been stamped before, just to kind of condition it. And I really like this sort of generic, and trust me, you're going to see that I'm sorry from me a lot more, and not just for sympathy cards. So that's what I like about it is, sometimes you did something wrong and you're sorry. Or, somebody lost their job, or other things besides someone passing away. So I decided that I'm going to use Distress Oxide in weathered wood. And I did kind of swatch that off to the side to see if it was a good color match, and it's actually perfect. And because it's Distress Oxide, I may have to stamp it down 2 or 3 times to make sure I get good coverage. And I can't believe how perfectly that matches. I'm so happy about that. So sometimes, you might not have kind of subtle colors of ink. And I really didn't want to use any black on here because there's no other black anywhere. All right, so let's go ahead and put this card together. And I'm going to trim this down because I only want just a really thin matte layer. So I'm going to glue this stenciled piece down to that little matte layer. Let me zoom out here a little so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Let's see, can I pick these up? Yes, I can. So I'll glue that down and then I'll trim off the excess off the sides. So yeah, more advice for when you're doing a sympathy card for someone. Keep it subtle, keep it simple. We don't want any shakers. We don't want any pop-ups. We don't want any lights. We just want something warm and simple. So I've got that glued down, so now I can trim off the other 2 edges. So sometimes I'll cut it bigger because I'm not sure what I want to do until I get there. Are you like that when you make cards? You have some idea, maybe you sketched it out. I typically do not. I will make a prototype if I'm going to make a video just to make sure that it's not too difficult or that my idea isn't just really super insane. Because sometimes they are. All right, so I've got my envelope here. And the card base matches the envelope. So I'm going to grab that stencil again. I'm just going to grab a long piece of mint tape. Let's flip this over here. I'm going to grab a long piece of mint tape and just sort of mask off the other portion of the envelope so that it only goes on the closure. Because if I know me, I'll get it everywhere. Then I'm going to take my cookie dough ink again, which is, again, this is sort of a tone on tone. And I'm just going to cover with that Tomadache stencil the whole closure. Then I'll pull off my stencil, carefully pulling off the mint tape. Because even though they say it doesn't rip your paper, sometimes it does. And I'm not going to re-ink my brush. I'm just going to take my blending buddy and just lightly blend along these edges. And it's really kind of actually hard to see on camera, but it's there. And it just gives that kind of final matching touch to your envelope. So then I can glue this down to the card base and then put the rest of it together. And again, with the sympathy card, you want to keep them really simple. So there's where I had cut out part of that paper. Getting low on this paper. I couldn't even tell you where it came from or what the name of the color is. But it's just kind of a soft blue-gray. So we'll get that centered down on there. Then I can glue down the I'm sorry. And that's why I wanted to stamp it first before I glued these down so that I could get everything positioned the way I want it. I really like this font too. It's not too fancy, but it's fancy enough. Okay, and I just want to make sure I don't have any glue oozing out. Because sometimes if your glue oozes out on your stenciling, it discolors the stenciling and kind of, I don't know, kind of interrupts the aesthetics of the card. So this is super simple. I am going to add just a little bit of bling, but I'm going to add a bling, this crystal ball dewdrops. So it's not like an in-your-face, let's shine bright kind of bling. It's almost like, I don't know, little teardrops or little water drops. And I'm just kind of strategically placing those because you can see how my I'm sorry goes off to the left. So I want these, the majority of these, to go off to the right. So I've got some balance in my card. And then I use a small, medium, and large one. And then I'll do 2 more down here on the bottom left. And that's going to kind of make almost an X pattern in the card. You wouldn't call it that, but that's sort of what it is. Making everything sort of balanced in position. Let's see if I can get one of these little guys to flip over. So I'll use a medium and a small one here on this side, and that's the card done. Super, super simple, super quick. You could probably mass make a few of these so that you have some on hand. And, you can write your own personal message inside, or you can stamp something inside if you want to. But I hope you like this video. If you do, please leave us a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing to our channel. I will have all the supplies that I use listed in the description box below. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.